Hey guys, welcome. It's evening time down in Key West, Florida, and I've been doing several things, but one of the things is I've moved on to another chapter in Genesis to talk about. Okay, now we have come into a particular spot where the last number was seven, and seven is really a good times were had by all. Everyone's been happy, everyone's been fed, everyone is doing very good, and that was with the number seven. Now, this one here, this next one is chapter 26. Add those together, and it's eight. Eight's a control number. A control number is just like it says. It's affirming. It's affirming. It's this is it. Now, it's not going to change from here. But this is this idea that we're first fixed in being broken, with the double mind and the division and divided land and stuff like that. But then once we get rearranged and reset and we win our works, we did what we were supposed to do, do we get fixed again? And this is a solid thing. Now, similar scripture to this was just earlier, not very much earlier, when it was Abraham, that was Abram, yeah, I think it was Abram at first, but he was going down into Egypt, and he had his wife tell everyone around that she was his daughter, his sister, and the same thing came about. He was afraid that they were going to kill him because she was fair and stuff like that. And one of the kings looked out the window and saw him being so true to her, or so fair, sporting with her, that he says, surely this is your wife. Why did you say she was your daughter, your sister? We heard all of this before. This makes him feel terrible. It makes him feel, what is it that we did? What did you do to bring this on us? And so what happens is he tells his men, no one touch her lest they die. Touch either of these guys. And so he was given the right to sojourn in his land, and that's what all these things are about, this sojourning and stuff like that, is pitching tents and things, and digging wells. This is what's happening out in the middle of these fields, or out in the middle of the desert. Do they dig wells? That's just very interesting, because this is Abraham's family, and this is all about coming to a well. Whenever it comes down to our meditation, we come to this well inside of us. It's the living well, and he sets himself up right beside one. That's the story so far. Now, more than that, this is about an oath. An oath means that between you guys and me guys, remember, this is how it worked out with the other guys. I want you to deal fair with us. I want you to deal fair. So this outside land that he is a stranger in, just like his father before him, you have to understand that, the scripture that Jesus comes out and says that a prophet is never welcome in his homeland. All right. Because a prophet is what you go from going inside and connecting to God. And when you become this prophet and you come back out to the real world, there's hardly anybody else out here connected. And so they don't necessarily really like you. But anyways, just they say that in this story, they come up saying, hey, we do know they sent him out after he was there for a year, after he was hanging out with these guys for a year. They saw how much he had increased, and he got larger and larger and larger. And he says, surely God's with you. And so they come to make a pact with them that you would be nice to us, and you would give us. And it's just a really beautiful story where it works out as, the king came with two guys and came to see this messenger of God. They blessed each other, which is what happens in these stories. And then everything is even. We're all even. And it's just beautiful. And then at the end of the story, in this case, we have this is very interesting, because I'm reintroducing some parts of this there's mechanics to reading the Bible. Okay, it just opens it up so easy. And like what I've been doing, I'm not really good with numbers, and there's numbers all over the place. I'm dyslexic as hell, and so a lot of times what I did when I first learned about this is I took each one of the scriptures and I wrote them in a 9. That way I couldn't mess it up, right? But when I did that, I started seeing other things. I saw right here that, well, first off, this is about 8. 8 is a control number, and so this is, they're having oaths. They're working with each other. They're in a spot where they're shaking hands with each other, and you're going to deal. I'm going to, just as we've dealt with you, you're going to deal with us. So it's an even, and it's beautiful. It's all. It's like, you know, this is what 8 is about when we finally make it over to this other side, and we're getting another taste of it, and it's almost an exact duplicate of what happened with the Pharaoh and with Sarah. You know, why didn't you tell us she was your wife? Someone could have done something with her and we all would have been dead. Oh my God, you know. So to make up for it, they gain in interest. And then at the same time, the two sides become equal to each other. It says, you know, hey, we make a pact here that we're all together. And that's what this means. When the lower comes higher and the higher, they're all on level ground now. This is what it means to be Israel. All right. To maintain Israel is to maintain this even ground. And that's how this works. Now, what I was saying is that this, when you push the scriptures out like this, there's on this one, guess how many full lines are 8. So even the scriptures is numbered as an 8 scripture. So it talks about, it's each one of these, this first group of worlds is going to be about God, or, you know, some kind of information that's coming from above, all right, or something, because that's what one is. One would be God, you know, or the beginning. So maybe you look at the whole world, the first 4 things here as being one, representing God or the beginning of a story or something, but we'll look at it together. 2, the second, all of those are all going to be about God's creation, this male-female situation, this our brain. This is about a creation. 3 is going to be about intervention. 3 always going to be an intervention. So on 9, 10, 11, and 12, this all should be really good things. It should be something about, this is what brings us together. All right. And 4 is going to be worlds and instruction. So here's worlds coming in right here. I used to think that this was the only place that was worlds. But we found out that all of these are worlds, and each one of these is a movement. So 5 is going to be about our skin, or about the body itself, all right? 6 down here is going to be about the work. 6 is that idea of being at the top of the ladder. This is what 6 is going to be, the works. So we got 22, 23, 24, and 21, 2, 3, and 4 are all going to be about our works. The 7th one, 7 is going to be like, hey, this is probably where the oath starts to show up and they start shaking hands or something like that, right? 8, or maybe 8, because that's control. 8 is 29, 30, 31, and 32 when they find water at the very end. Now, water's a good thing, because when you find water now, this it kind of lessens this idea of the famine, because they talk about there being a famine. Famine is when no one is connected to God. There's very few people on earth that are connected to God. So it's famine. That's what it means to be a famine, you know, to be without. That's all this is about. You either are connected to God or not. And when you're not connected to God, there's a famine in the land for sure. All right. That means there's no water, nothing to eat. All you got is the dry land. And of course, they're poking holes in it all over the place, because they're all well diggers. These guys are all inside. They're looking for this water. People look for water. You got to go dig this well ourselves. This is the one you drink from. This when you get, oh, it lasts forever and ever. But it's a beautiful thing. A lot of stories talk about being by the well. Even the Jonah story starts off with he's by the well. All right, and anybody that's by the well, they're in spirit form. And or it's just not a real live fleshy situation. If you're able to speak to the Lord and you're by a well, your spirit. This is all in spirit mode. That's how it works. So I looked at the number 8 being control. Bear, when they find bear, is a well. And that word well, it means about oath. And the number 7, that's what Beersheba means. Okay. Hittite means you're broken. These are the people that he's connected with on the outside. Those are guys are broken. And that usually means that this part doesn't work. They're going up to heaven and hell to clean things out. That's usually the people that are left-brained or half-brained. They're the ones that are Hittites, and that means that they're broken and they have fear. They're under fear. And so in Judith is let us be praised. We have Bash. Bath on math means perfumed, confusion of death, and then we have Elon, which means tree or oak tree. So when we hear those things, tree or oak tree, that's a good thing. That's a good signs. And so it's strong things. It's a new tree. It's new something. All right. So real quick, let's get this out of the way. All right. Come on. I'm going to push it down. I'm going to go right to it. This is about control. This is this idea that your mind now, we're fixed. This is perfect. And we're not going to go anywhere from this point. We're just going to be friends from here on out. So there was a famine in the land, right? There's a famine in the land. Just follow these numbers. And this was the day, as was in the day of Abraham. And Isaac went unto Abimelech, king of the Philistines, and unto Gerar. All right. This Gerar place is a place where it's like a traveling place. It's like a place of meeting or a hotel or something like that. What did I get out of that when I did this? What was Gerar? Didn't I write it down? I guess I didn't. Damn it. Well, anyways. We'll go. Someone else go and look that up. But it means like lodging place is what it means. And the that to be our body. Okay, that's the lodging place. And the Lord appeared unto him and said, Go not down into Egypt, dwell in the land which I shall tell of thee. Sojourn in this land, and I will be with thee, and will bless thee. For unto thee and unto thy seed I will give all these countries. And I'll perform the oath which I swear unto Abraham thy father. And I will make thy seed to multiply as the stars of heaven, and will give unto thy seed all these countries, and in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed. Okay, so that's our first set of worlds across there, and they're all pretty much God telling him of these wonderful things that he's going to do. This third one, where our skin is, this is the land. This is where they tell you about, hey, now, sojourn in this land, and I will be with thee. This is, you have to do this for a while. This is where you're going to live for a while. So at least in this story, he's there for about a year. And then things start to happen. We get a whole new world here because Abraham obeyed my voice. This is the second one. This is God. This is the idea of God's creation. And so what would happen is in this situation, this number 5, because Abraham heard his voice, obeyed it, kept charge of my commandments and statutes and my laws. So this is saying that, this is Abraham. Abraham did this. Abraham took all this stuff together. And now Isaac dwelt in Gerar. This one here, right here. All right. And the men of the place asked of his wife. This is here representing. This is where the nation is. This is where the people are. This is where the men are. This is where the brethren, because of the skin part. And so the people of that town came and asked him of his wife, and he said, "She's my sister." And for they all feared, for he feared that she is my wife, lest lest he, the men of this place, should kill me for Rebekah, because she was fair to look upon. This is number 7 right here. Now, again, this is a repeat of an earlier story with his father. So it's the exact same thing. And to me, it sounds like, well, in reality, these stories are all about that person is going to be walking down the same walk, the same line as this father. So here's this idea that on the 7th one here in this place, that the men of this place asked him of his wife. And he had to come up with this lie that it's my sister and not my wife. And it was all because he was afraid that they would come down on him and kill him. And on the 8th one, on the end down there, and it came to pass, when he had been there a long time, that this king, this Abimelech guy of the Philistines, looked out the window and saw, and behold, Isaac was sporting with Rebekah, his wife. And so sporting means, that he was, doing a one-on-one with him. I guess it just looked like he was having some fun. But this is on number 8. Number 8 is a control number. So we're looking at the end of he and his wife were being recognized as being together and not as brother and sister. All right. So now I'm seeing your wife. So you're seeing that the God's creation in his image is male and female, not sister or anything lower, but wife. And so that's where we get this beautiful thing on the end, this 8. All right, now let's keep going. Then Abimelech called Isaac and said, "Behold, oh, surely she is your wife. And why'd you say this, sister?" And Isaac said, "Because lest I die for her." All right, so 9 is this idea that, if I don't want you to kill me for my wife, and if you did, then I would die. Because it's true, if there's an outside influence that takes away his wife, which was what it was before. Remember, he says, "Thou hast taken a man's wife, and thou shalt surely die." Here is another play with this, lest I die for her. And 10 says, and Abimelech said, "What is that has done to us? One of my people might have lain with thy wife, and thou should have brought guilt upon us." And then Abimelech charged his people, this is number 11, the people, man, this is where it would be, that no one touched them at all. So this was some kind of a pact. You don't mess around with these guys. All right. So 12 on the end here, on 12 we get, then Isaac sowed in that land and received in the same year an 100-fold, and the Lord blessed him. So everything was increased. He was told that would increase like the stars in the sky. Okay. And so, but he had to do this work first. All right. So this is how this works, is he had to at least sojourn, just like we have to go through without God for a while. And once you've gotten all this, I will increase you and I will do this for you. And the next thing on the line is that, let's cap this off. Let's sign it off here. This is it. This is you and me. And there's a pact between us that this ain't going to happen. We're going to be buddies from this point on. This is what 8 represents, control. This is when God comes and puts a little bump inside you. But see, it's the king of the land that he's making a pact with. And that would be you and me, in the stories, with Pharaoh. It's this idea that, you've made some kind of agreement with the lower side that brings everybody even. All right. And so now we get an Isaac. Oh, and Abimelech says, Isaac, go from us. No, here, we got to go back up again. It's 15. Where's 15 at? 14, 15. Do we got this right? Yeah, we have to go back. I messed up. Isaac sowed seed in the land. That's 12. And the man waxed great. That's this one here. This would be the man, because this is the outside of us. So the man waxed great and went forward and grew until he became very great. This is enlarging your borders. This is 13. That represents 4, and it's about, traveling. So he's made it. Number 14, for he had possession of flocks, possession of herds, and great store of servants, and Philistines envied him. This is 14, which represents 5. 5 is the brethren, and all these things that he's talking about. And the Philistines kind of go, kind of like, damn. For all the wells which the father's servants had digged in the days of Abraham, his father, the Philistines had stopped them and filled them with earth. This is 6. This is like they've taken 15. Where's 15? 14, 15. When someone was digging, when you're digging for a well, and if you're going to fill them with earth, you're losing something. You're actually losing something. So the Philistines actually stopped them from being able to, to do something nice. And later on, you're going to find that this is what Egypt does to, or Pharaoh does to these Jewish people that show up, right? Because they wind up being given mortar, a brick and mortar, or straw, instead of all of this real stuff. They were told this is all you get. So here they are filling the holes in with dirt. And that's like the darkness overcoming the light, because in these stories, the water, the light, the wells is where we go to find God. All right. So here these people on the outside that are in drought, that don't have, and that's a fixed object too. That's a fixed situation when you don't have God. That's you're stuck in this too until you fix it, until you change this and fix this up. And of course, that's what they're doing right here, because he's been asked to leave and depart from them. And so we get, because thou art mightier than we. So they're getting a little weird. All right. And let's see, this is number 16, and this means this is a 7. So he's much bigger. This is this idea of it's an outside situation, but he is much larger than these other people. And you'll remember, if you're familiar with the story of Exodus, is that at the beginning of this, they were talking about bringing in all of these slaves, all these Israelites, but then they might have too many babies. They might wind up out passing us up as far as out babying us, and out populating us. And then one day they'll turn around and they'll be our rulers. So these are all duality situations where they can tell a story this way and then they flip it over and tell the story this other way, and they're still telling the same story. So it says here, number 18. Well, let's go to 17. 17, here we are. 17, on 17, it says, and Isaac departed, and he pitched his tent in the valley of Gerar, and dwelt there. In the valley is the midst, right between two cities, right between the two guys. All right. And then we get 18. And Isaac digged again wells of water, which they had digged in the days of Abraham his father. For the Philistines had stopped them after the death of Abraham. And he called their names after the names by which their father had called them. And Isaac's servants digged a valley. This is in 19. 19. Isaac's servants digged in the valley and found there a well of spring water. It's a good thing. Within yourself. This is where you find this. It's inside of you. So his servants digged them a well. Now, we're down here somewhere. And so 21. Where's this at? Wait a minute. 19 is where they dug the well. 19 and 20 over here. And the herdmen of Gerar did strive with Isaac's herdsmen, saying, the water is ours. And he called the name of this well Ezek, because they strove with him. All right, let's find out what ethic means. I didn't do it either. Copy. I've got everything ready to go as we go. Let's find out what that name means real quick. Paste. Ask. It means contention. Contention. All right. It says contention. Doesn't sound all that favorable, but the idea is, I guess it was their contention because they strove with him. This is number 20. It's representing 2, and that is God's creation. This is 20. Let's see what happens with this 20. All right, because they strove with him. What are we talking about? 5. These are all men's situations. This is all about our body. 17, 18, 19, and 20. So yeah, I see it's all about people. 19 and 20. Let's see, 21 is going to be about our works. 21, 22, 23, and 24. Let's see what happens. About our works. 21, right here, right at the beginning. And they digged another well and strove for that also. And he called the name of it Sitnah. Let's see what the hell that one's name is. Sitnah. Sitnah. A well in Greer dug by Isaac. And it means open spaces. That's what it means. Open spaces. That's pretty nice. Oh, I also like looking at this one down. I call up the entomology. We get a better one. And it just means enmity, accusation, and hatred. That's what SITNAH is supposed to mean. All right. And they digged another well and strove for that, and they called this one that bad name. And he removed from there and digged another well, and that they strove not, and he called the name of it Rehoboth. All right. Let's see what the name of that one means. Do that real quick. Rehoboth. Of course, you know I'm not saying it correctly. But whenever you cut and paste, there's no way of messing up. It says a well. Isaac gave it the name, which means open spaces. Again, we get this open spaces. So what are they talking about? And he went up from there thence to Beersheba. Number 23. Number 23. Now 23, let's see. And he went up from thence to Beersheba. Beersheba is another well. Beer means my well. He went up to my well. The well of the oath. The 7. The oath. Number 7 used to means that you 7 has always been a completion number. It's always so. In here we're looking at a name being oath, the oath, and that oath. Whenever we keep the oath with God, it's to connect mother and father, or to honor mother and father, and we have to use the 7. We have to use the 7 churches in order to do that with. And so we have 24. 24 has got to be the last of these things. It says, the Lord appeared unto him in that same night and said, I am the God of Abraham, thy father. Fear not, for I am with thee, and I will bless thee, and I will multiply thy seed for thy servant Abraham's sake. Now, we're down here to 8, which is final 4. And this is about God connecting them together and doing something. So here 8, down here in this one here, this is number 29. Is that it? No. Let's go to 7, I guess. We skipped the whole line. Number 25 here. 25. And he builded an altar there, and upon, this is number 25? Yeah. And he builded an altar there, called upon the name of the Lord, pitched his tent there, and there Isaac's servants digged the well. Then 26. Then Abimelech went to him from Greer, and such, one of his friends, and another chief captain of his army. So this is a visitation of they're coming to see Isaac, the king, and two of his friends, all right, are coming to see him, all right. And then over here he says on 27, he says, wherefore you come to see me, seeing you hate me, you have sent me away from you, right? This was all these bad things that were back in here, because that came from these other people. It's what happens when he's digging a well in their land. Remember that 27. And Isaac said unto them, where do you come from? Well, I mean, seeing that you hate me. That's what this is. Number 28 on the end here is 10. And they said, we saw certainly that God was with thee. And we said, there be now an oath betwixt us, and betwixt us and thee, and let us make a covenant with thee. And thou shalt do no harm, for we have not touched thee, and as we have done unto thee nothing but good, and have sent thee away in peace. And thou art now blessed of the Lord. And he made them a feast, and they did eat and drink. Happens on 30. Where it says that right here. They did eat and drink. This is an outside situation, because he's talking to all these outsiders in this group that let him dwell and sojourn in this land, be the stranger in their land. And they said, come on, you're cool. All right. 31. And they rose up betimes in the morning and swore to one another, and Isaac sent them away, and they departed from him in peace. So the lower mind, the left side of our minds, after all of this business, is now in peace, and they left in peace. They're no longer going to be some problem between these two. That's what that's meaning. Okay, now 32, the end of this here. And it came to pass that same day. This is when they made this pact with each other, just that they found water. Water's mother. So water is finding mother. This is beautiful, you guys. All right. All right. So we still have 3 more things left. Now, when you have something at the end like this, this is like foreshadowing, because we still have more to come. All right. So here in the first place we have, this is where they're talking about Beersheba. This is 33. That's a 6. 6 would represent the works. But remember, we're on the outside right now. All right. And so this is not so much of an inside thing. But number 33 represents 6. And he called it Sheba. Therefore the name of the city Beersheba unto this day. And Beersheba just means where my well is. All right. And remember, this is the whole idea that in the last chapter, that he hangs out by this well. This is his well. In 34, we get Esau in here. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, we get Esau. All right. Esau, at 40 years old, took a wife. Her name is Judith, and the daughter of Beer the Hittite, and Basemath, the father of Elon the Hittite. That's a whole mouthful. Well, that's their names all down here. This is the Hittite is a broken person that fears. We got let him be praised. Perfume. Remember this idea of this. A name is better than all the perfumes and stuff like that. So here we get this Elon. This is Elon. It's the oak tree. Wait a minute. Don't mess this up yet. Bashamath. Bashamath is the ones about being perfumed in this confusion of death. Well, let's find out where that one is. Okay. Oh, it's just here. Number 34. Number 34, there's no death. There is no death to someone who is not connected. You have to kill yourself in order to connect to God. And this is in that Nazarene idea is that you'll never see no death, that you will see no death, because they've been told not to uh, drink any strong wine or anything from the vine. You're not supposed to have any food from it, no nothing, no strong drink, and you're not supposed to cut your hair, which means you can't get rid of the outside of you, which means there's no death. You have to maintain yourself in an unclean situation until that day that you come up to the Lord. All right? So with that in mind, we get number 35, the final one, and this is which were a grief of mind to Isaac and Rebekah. Well, that's because Isaac and Rebekah, these are the guys there are much closer to God. But these other guys on this other side, he's representing the more negative side, the ones that are without. All right, because this Isaac and Rebekah have gone and created all this business where they are connected to God. They are, and this is the situation where now they're firm now. All right. And they're giving us some foreshadowing here that they've got Judas. And when Esau takes on Judas, this is taking on a wife from probably the Canaanites. Because he was told not to take, Isaac was told not to take from the land where they sojourned, because that's the lower side. So this is what's going to happen with Judith. All right. We're just thinking ahead of time. But to make things short, I just wanted to show you. Oh, well, I don't know what I want to show you. I've already showed you everything. I've already talked to some great deal. So this is about a control. And when you find out, when it came down to it, everybody is happy. Everyone comes out happy in the end. And that's a good sign. And that's what happens when we go through this situation inside. And many people on the outside here just absolutely fear it and scare it. They're afraid of this. That's its increase, And in here we have the lower mind being, oh my God, get away from us. I'm scared of you. So he still hung out for a while. He was able to progress and make more. And then they come over and make a pact with him. And so this is this idea that when we're done, we're all evened out. The left side and the right side. It's all one even. All one even space. All right, so that was chapter 26. 26 represented 8 and a control number at that. And that's all this was about the two sides making a difference between the two. And the land that he was in, the people, he was sojourning through this land. And while he was doing that, he got his work done. And now look at all these wonderful things that have happened to him. Do you understand? It's very nice. And it's completing it's completing the role of, a band taking out what's bad in this side here and filling it up with something better. And in this situation, it ends with they found water. They found water. That's a good thing. All right. All right. And so one of the things that you got out of this was that the word famine in the land means there's no God. That's it. All right. It could be that there's no water is what it is, because it can't get things to grow. Can't get things to live without water. Right. Nothing will grow without water. And this is a female energy in our Bible, and she winds up being the Holy Ghost. She is the well that we come to. It's beautiful. It's either her, which is mother, or a damsel is going to be doing this. One of her children, one of her daughters. All right, it's just beautiful. All right, I'll check with you later. All right, bye-bye.